Welcome back into an off-season edition of Ravens Unscripted. We've got Ryan, John, and Cliff on the couch here from Ravens Media, and we saved the best for last. Let's dive fully into the Lamar Jackson experience moving forward. All right, Ryan, you've been championing the Lamar Jackson experience over the course of his time as the starter. Your takeaways from this sample size, and then we'll get into what it looks like moving forward.
I mean, I think it's about what you probably expected or better for Lamar Jackson. He came in, made a lot of plays with his legs, gave you a lot of wow moments. I mean, how many times were you just like, whoo, this kid can move? I mean, and at the same time, missed a number of throws, fumbled the ball way too much, and, you know, had some issues in terms of got in the playoffs, another team had seen him already, and he couldn't replicate that kind of success. So I think for a rookie season, being the only rookie in the playoffs, winning 6 of his first 7 games to take him to the playoffs, that's a lot of really good things from Lamar Jackson.
I would agree. A lot of really good things. And I would say it's not necessarily what we thought would happen. This thing, when they put him in to start that game, it wasn't guaranteed it was going to go well. I mean, it was possible he had never really played and he never started a game. Who knows how this was going to go? With that in mind, I think it went really well. I mean, and I think on both sides, the things were magnified. The good things were really good. I mean, he did a lot of stuff that was really, really tremendous. The bad things, as we saw in the last game, pretty bad. All those fumbles, way too many. And the passing issues that Ryan alluded to, definitely an issue going forward. So really good things and things that need a lot of work, but the bottom line is a positive.
All right. Well, Cliff, I imagine you would have echoed a lot of those statements.
Sure.
So I want to save our time here for really what is not the elephant in the room, but the thing that keeps being brought up. Mm-hmm. Is this sustainable? What we saw from him, this version of quarterback play, this version of offense. I'll let you chew on that. And then if you could, guys, give us a sense of how Eric DeCosta, John Harbaugh, whoever's making the decisions right now, have to build this offense around him to make it more sustainable, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's sustainable with Lamar Jackson. I think there are a lot of quarterbacks who would play this style. It wouldn't be sustainable. But with him, I think it is, one, his maturity level for a guy who just played 22 and his leadership level. I think that's important. I didn't know how quickly guys, even wide receivers who weren't getting the ball as much, love playing with this guy. And I think that he commands a room. He already commands the respect of the locker room. I think that even though it was tough to watch, the experience he just went through will help him going forward in that playoff game. I can only think of any quarterback, except maybe Tom Brady, who hasn't had a experience like that at some point, whether it was Aaron Rodgers waiting for 2 years to play or Drew Brees getting shipped off by the Chargers, whether he's too small. This goes with the package of being a franchise quarterback, overcoming adversity. And I think it's going to help him moving forward. Now, what we've already talked about building pieces around him, that's a must because this offense goes against the grain of the entire NFL. And unless you do it right, it's not going to succeed. But I do believe that the Ravens are all in and that it can be sustainable.
I think an RPO offense like the Ravens went to is sustainable, but you have to improve on the P in that equation to make it sustainable. The R is really good. The R is great, right? And it can only get better if you improve the offensive line, the running backs, and all that stuff. Lamar's ability as a runner, unquestioned, and could, they're going to be fantastic for a long time as long as he doesn't take the one big hit. And I know that's the big question. Everybody looks at RG3. Everybody looks at Kaepernick and some of these mobile quarterbacks and say, they're going to get hit. They're going to have injuries. And maybe that will happen. I can't rule that out. All I can say is that Lamar Jackson over his career, college included, has not had an injury history. I do think that he is a different athlete from some of those guys where he is able to, he can shake and bake a little bit better.
Well, he can avoid a number of his first few starts due to injuries, whether it be evaluation for concussions or lower body
injuries. One
was
just an evaluation for a concussion, and one he got rolled up on his leg. But, I mean, yes, they weren't like serious injuries, and he didn't even have the concussion, so it wasn't like he actually did get injured. But I think he does a good job of avoiding the big hit. So everybody's going to be concerned and all that stuff, and I get it because it only takes one big hit. And the more you run, the more opportunities you give yourself for taking that big hit. But I think that he can make it work.
And there's two things that need to happen this offseason. Number one is the ball security. John Harbaugh said that was the number one issue after that game.
And that's something you can improve.
That, I think, is going to happen. I think that can happen. The passing game and his mechanics and that is, I think, where we really have to monitor this. I mean, what do you not want to see going forward? Those balls in the dirt, when guys are open.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the passing, because Cliff brought this up at one point. How much is realistic to expect that a guy at this point, I know he's young, but you're 21, you've been throwing a certain way, you've been this type of quarterback your entire life. You're not going to, over the course of 5 months in California or wherever, Florida, throwing the ball around in the sun, become a quarterback that you have never been, John. I mean, is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, you don't expect him to become, somebody throwing 60-yard strikes all the time and everything. But I think make those easy throws. That some of them were just in the dirt. I don't think you can have that anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's his mechanics is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
It's not arm strength.
No.
It's mechanics, and that can improve if he just can get a consistent, like a golf swing, a consistent throwing motion time after time. When he can translate that to the game, not just the practice field, the game, I think it is possible that he can become a significantly better passer, good enough to play the way he does.
And I think
I
some
agree.
of it is timing, too, in the passing game. Obviously, he didn't have all that foundation built this season. On some of those outside throws and whatnot, he has to be more accurate, but the more he throws them, the more the timing with his receivers and things will improve. But it's never going to look like it looked like with Joe Flacco. If that's what you're expecting from Lamar Jackson, then just give it up.
Viewpoint,
right, exactly.
It's going to look different.
But you know what he's going to do? He's going to extend plays. He's going to spin out of sacks, and that's going to open up big plays in the passing game. It's just going to look differently, but I think he can have success, certainly as a thrower.
I'd like to, before we finish, say one thing. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh,
I think
it's
it's
going to
be
fascinating.
really interesting.
I mean, look at the playoff game. I said this in an earlier segment. Who were the Chargers game planning against in that game? Lamar Jackson. That was all they talked about after that game, is they were just preparing to stop him. That speaks to the kind of talent that Lamar Jackson is already.
Yeah.
Well, I think those are some perfect sort of primers for final thoughts here, guys, on the 2018 season and what'll be top of line for you heading into the offseason into next year, Ryan, first?
Well, I think it's now, where do the Ravens go from here? I mean, you obviously had a successful season. You won the AFC North, but that can't be good enough now. The window is open, and you don't know, because we're talking about Lamar and how sustainable he is and all this stuff. How long are you going to have this dynamic talent under center? You got to win games now. You got to win a playoff game with Lamar Jackson and take it further. I think the Ravens could have done it this year. It didn't happen. They need to find out how they're going to do it next season.
Good season, great season, I think. This was, I mean, go back to those last minutes of that last Cleveland game. What if that goes the wrong way? Oof. This is a despairing couch. Okay, so.
There better be a Kleenex box on this couch.
We got it.
This CJ Mosley doesn't make that
Yeah,
point.
we're talking different stuff. So the victories, the successes, really important for the franchise.
Yeah, I think it was a great reboot this season. They're back in the ballgame. They're back in the playoff mix. Yeah. I think next year, Ravens will be talked about as maybe the favorite, the AFC North.
Yep.
And being young, that window you talked about, I think it just opened. It's not like it's going down. I think it's going up.
Very good.
And we'll be back on this couch, at least we hope, next season. But obviously, head to BaltimoreRavens.com all offseason for the latest news and analysis. Guys, thanks.